Greetings all. I just want to show you something new. Not new, but if you look at this photo, it'll give you a good indication of the groups involved in this so-called jihadist movement. This guy in the with no wrap on it, no head wrap. Then you see this one right there. And you see this one right here. You see this one with the green. See how his is wrapped differently from the others. This one right here, his is wrapped differently from the others. No head wrap. This young man right here, I'm thinking that he came from North Africa. This one. This one, I'm thinking that he's a Fuller. I'm thinking that he is Fuller also, but Nigerian in origin. And this one right here is from further east, Sudan, probably Sudan, and in some cases he may come from Libya also. But they're all, before I was interrupted, I'm gonna tell you, they all seem to be Fuller, except for this guy. No Fuller will go without his head wrap. As I was saying, this guy, the light-skinned guy, he's North African. He's probably maybe Muslim, but there's Muslim men who don't wear, Arabic Muslim men who don't wear the head wrap. But these are your groups that involved in this jihadist thing. It's hard to call it jihadist because it really isn't. These people are being, the leadership, it's not there are people who are, I mean, among all people, there are some people who are very, very hospitable. And there's some people who are not hospitable. There's some people who are not hospitable who will do anything at all to their fellow man. And there's some who have a heart. They might not like Christians or might not like people who don't believe in have the same belief as they are, but they say, leave you alone. In their mind, they say, God will handle you, you know. But they will still treat you well. They will not see you go hungry. But then you have this, and this is leadership. Like I said, the leadership of these people is just the wicked part. That's why you have these wars in Sudan and all across North Africa that destroyed Tunisia and Libya, and they were moving south. But with Burkina Faso and Niger and Mali and now Chad joining in this coalition, they can no longer use the desert to keep what they call sub-Saharan African to the south and northern um, Arabs in the north. That's what they were afraid of. This is all about Muslim control. Some people are not going to like that because they say I'm blaming Muslims, but no, I'm not blaming Muslims. Because Muslims believe in their book. Yes, I understand that, comprehend that very well. But the people in charge, GCC, are responsible for this. They are responsible for this. Those are the ones that they say are called the guardians. Keep telling you about these groups. The guardians. These groups. That's what happened. The war between the war between Europe. Richard the Lionheart didn't conquer Jerusalem because of the so-called Christ. Nothing to do. Well, that's what they say. But they had to take the power from the Muslims in order for them to then go on and rule the rest of the earth. And guess who was holding up the power of the Muslims? It was black Africans. When they began the war across North Africa, it was black Africans that they used to help conquer that area. When they began the war in Europe, it was black Africans that they used to conquer Spain. They were losing the war in Spain until they brought in Africans. The same Mali. That's funny. The same Mali and Niger. That's where the African generals came from. Now, this story should be told to all of us, especially us in the West, from the Caribbean, Americas, and in the British Isles. All of Europe, Africa. Because we don't know this story. A lot of Africans don't know this story. My family came from Muslim roots. We are fuller. I was just fortunate, I guess. Well, I shouldn't say fortunate. See, in my family, I don't know if my children are going to continue it, but my aunt told me the story. My aunt told my father, passed down to me. My aunt raised me till I was about 9 years old. The stories that her mother told her, her grandmother told her. We came to the Caribbean, to Barbados particularly, because of wars like this. These so-called jihadist wars were once tribal wars in Africa. The Mali Republic is not new. The Ghanaian Republic was not new. The Caliphate in Nigeria, northern Nigeria, still exists. That's where a lot of slaves came from. That same Caliphate in northern Nigeria right now is involved in this. It hasn't ended. when our forefathers left Egypt, no idea that 2,000 years later we end up in slavery in the Caribbean. And people will read the Bible and say, yeah, well, it was foretold in the Bible. Oh, okay. Anyway, this, you'll see the long arm of people look at Islam as a religion. And yes, to some extent it is. But guess what? Under the guise of Christianity, the European came to Africa and conquered Africa. Came to America, conquered the lands of the Iroquois and all the other the 5 tribes, I would say. Well, there are more than 5 tribes, but the roots of the tree, the major branches are those. I'm gonna get argument from people who, but look, if you have something to teach me, teach me. Okay. Anyway, you have a belief, and your belief is what is like a glue that binds you. But it's not only your belief, it's your spirit of conquering, expanding, empire building. It was about empire building. They could have let the religion travel, but they didn't. They went to wars to conquer. It wasn't because of the religion. It was a matter of conquering. That's why you had the wars between the Muslims and the Europeans. It's about conquering, taking power. Just like now, we have the war between America and China. China didn't go to war to gain the economic power, but they will have war nevertheless. That's what happens. That's how it is. And the last video I made for you shows you that these groups are paid for from UAE, Turkey, Switzerland, which is the captain, the money from Europe. The money now. Swiss, the religion, UAE, and Saudi Arabia, Turkey, the training, Israel, the training, the French, the protection until they get established. Right? That's why this writer can say we should expect a jihadist state, because they know what they're building. This is about keeping China and Russia out of Africa. Empire. You might not want to believe me, but when you read history, it's been repeated so many times that I can't understand how, I fail to comprehend how people don't see it. I have people in the Caribbean and America who will say, you know what, my roots are in America. Okay, no problem. I don't have any argument with you. You want to believe it? Go ahead. But when you read the facts, you'll see it's not. Yes, we were here before the Romans. Africans came to America long before the Romans, before the Greeks. You even had Egyptians here. That's how long it was. what people call the Caribs, African. Africans that look like that guy right there. And this guy right here. They call people like him, his complexion, the Taino. So when you get people from the Dominican Republic talking about they're Caucasian, you know, go ahead. When I see people from Dominican who tell themselves that they're not African, they think what you think. First, you got people like this in the Caribbean, whom were mixed with people from Spain now, who were looking like this, because they mix the Caucasians and people like this will give you a complexion like that, or a little bit lighter, but it's yours to choose. Anyway, just want to give you a little bit of history and looking forward about what could happen. People are looking at Africa as Africa 2063. But the plan that they have and the plan that they gave to Africans are two different things. This is what they plan. The one talking about how many young people in Africa. Yeah. And Africa 2063 is going to be great. Nope. This is the real plan. Told you, when the disturbances start, you have to know what to do. Luckily, or I shouldn't say luckily, because there's always there are always people among us. That's why the Europeans are afraid of a black man with power, African roots, who can command. That's why this man Traoré and his brothers in Mali and Benin, and not Benin, Niger. That's why they're so worried about the three of them. Able to think for themselves, and their people are following them. That's scary. They still remember Spain. History is that river. All right, peace.